Hi guys, good to see you again. Welcome to episode 40 of Ora-Ora Live. I'm always so privileged, but I feel like today I'm with a very, very privileged person, and I'm privileged to be talking to him, Arthur Villepin. How are you, Arthur?
Very good, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us here with your beautiful show. I would love to talk to you a lot more about yourself and your philosophy in life and of course the current show. But before doing that, let me introduce you.
Okay, sure.
So Arthur de Villepin is the chairman and co-founder of Villepin, as well as an entrepreneur and avid collector of art. He co-founded Villepin with his father, the former French Prime Minister, Dominique de Villepin.
Perfect.
Arthur grew up surrounded by artists. His mother is a celebrated sculptor, Marie-Laure Villepin,
Yes.
de Villepin, and his sister Marie de Villepin, and has established a successful career as a painter as well.
Yes.
Apart from that, Arthur got to travel a lot and meet so many amazing artists, including like Zhao Wuqi, Ensam Kiever, Myonghi Kang, Pierre Soulages, etc. And I just found out that even at university, you got to have Myonghi Kang's work in your dorm.
Not in the dorm room. I had the chance to share a flat with a friend. So yes,
even better.
Even better.
So thank you so much again.
Of course.
To start, I think everybody is very curious about your personal journey. So you've been in Hong Kong for over 10 years and you've started different businesses. But what brought you to start a gallery space with your father?
It's an important question because I think it's an accumulation. It's not suddenly you have the idea and it just comes down. I think it's the story of my life somehow. And I got to understand, I'm still understanding today, how I connect the dots and how basically different events in my life led me to open the gallery. And most of people think it sounds very natural or sounds very obvious today, but the reality was I had no idea. When I arrived in Hong Kong, I just knew that I wanted to live in Hong Kong. That was the only thing I knew. And I played by the negative. I knew that was Hong Kong. Which job, I didn't know. So I just found a job. I was working with a big French group called Villepin. And a couple of weeks after, actually, I met a French guy, and we started our first company together. It's what was wine and art, so art was around, was involved. And slowly building a second company, and it was kind of like soul searching. I think you're always trying to find the company, the industry, the work that you will feel makes you vibrate, makes you yourself, and where you find some kind of meaning. And it took me some time. Also, I think number of failures. Restructuration, disappointments, moments where I took a lot of risk, and where I was very bullish because at the beginning, I thought I wanted to conquer the world, and eventually, I wanted to build this lifestyle group, and I think develop a lot of companies, it grew a big infrastructure, and eventually it didn't work in this way, and that kind of taught me over the years that every step was a learning process towards understanding who I wanted to be, what kind of also business I wanted to create for myself, what was important for me in my life. And in 2017, I had a big crisis. I had to restructure my company. We heard about like 80, 90 people, a lot of different lifestyle companies. I had to restructure, sell some companies, and then liquidate some others, and I restructured the group from around 90 to about 30, and within 1 year,
it's
1 year and a half.
It's
So,
not easy having worked with so many people and they're all colleagues, right?
Yeah, I think that you let down a lot of people. You think that you failed yourself, and everyone was looking at you as the guy that was so successful, but the reality is that you feel that you didn't achieve what people expect of you and what you expected of yourself. So I think that the idea of going out of a failure and think, what was the next step?
How did you come about, like come out? It's not easy for entrepreneurs, especially that you're quite young at that time, right? You're still very young.
Yeah.
And having to make a decision.
I think the only thing that you feel at the time, we asked me at some point, what determines you, who you are, and I realized it was not who I was at the moment. What determines who you are is how you react to these moments. I mean, I knew that I had to, at some point, end of the summer 2017, I had to restructure all these companies. I had to fire a lot of people, and to move on and to find a way to survive. And of course, debts and all the things that comes with it. And I realized you have to resist. I think that this is where you define who you are. My number one realization was I was resilient. I didn't want to give up. And then at that time, I just went down through this restructuration process for about 6 months. It took me about maybe a year or a year and a half to find a new way going forward. Started to grow again, and kind of focused on at the time this brand called Yellow Corner for art photography, and also the development of the wine company at the time.
Was that the time that you were in China?
Yeah, I went to China a lot to develop
but you lived
the
in
companies
Hong
in
Kong,
China.
right?
Yes, and I felt obviously you're going down, you're not growing. So not growing is
well, maybe
after
not
growing
but
so
confining.
much.
Or
Confining, and also feeling that you are restructuring. So you're narrowing down your revenue. You're narrowing down the amount of people working in the company, and of course, it feels like, what's the point, right? What's the point if you feel lost somehow? And at some point, I started to grow again. Right? I started to grow again, grow the Yellow Corner company in China, and in 2019. That was a big moment of growth, and I was really happy until the protest came.
That's great. Oh, we're all kind of was part of the result, right?
Yeah, and I think that this is part of the result.
Okay.
I mean,
how did the idea come about to start a gallery?
And this is where you're gonna understand. It's like it went very fast, because I realized. Summer 2019, I've made so much investments and raised some funds, debts towards the development of my companies. I realized the whole 50% of retail went down, right? All the investments, all the different galleries, all the places that I had were losing
all
money.
the shops and everything.
And I realized in an instant that it was done. I could not rely on this business anymore, and I had to change completely. And I came back from holiday, and in the middle of the summer, in the middle of August actually, which is quite funny, because when a French guy comes back in the middle of August,
yes.
It's not a good sign. I mean, a French guy, you would definitely stay on holiday. But I was going through a very hard time, and I went back on my own in my place, and I kind of went through a little depression at the time, and I wanted to think what's going to be really a thing that, no matter what, the volatility, because I realized I've been so many times in Hong Kong trying to do so many projects. I mean, brought restaurants, brought event company, brought a design company. Every time it was crawling down because of volatility, because one time it was a protest, the other time was some other demonstrations, or crisis
China
with restaurants.
War.
I feel volatility is everywhere. And I realized, okay, if I cannot control what's gonna happen, I should just do what I love. And so I realized that what I needed to do was to find what could stop tomorrow, and still I would have enjoyed every day. And I, at the time, I had went through a lot of stress, and every day was not easy. And I thought, okay, art is really what I love. Having the relationship with collectors is what I love. And I actually took a piece of paper and I defined whatever I'm going to tell you today, which is all these values that I've created for Villepin. Spending time with collectors, spending time with my family, sharing and doing my passion, doing it from a space that was authentic and that was myself and personal. And all these elements came at this moment thinking, even if it stops tomorrow, at least I would have done exactly what I love. And so I started to define the elements of that business back in 2019, and started to think, okay, I'm gonna create this Villepin. At the beginning, I did want to put our own name.
Yeah, you put your whole family name.
What a pressure. You go through whole failure and you think, oh, you're going to give it all and then you're going to take the last thing that you remains, like your reputation, right? And it felt like all or nothing. It really felt like all or nothing. And we had to leave from this space because we can not afford it anymore. And it's like, okay, maybe I'm going to use one floor. Maybe I'm going to use just 2 floors. And at the end, a couple of deals that we made, a couple of collectors that I started to work with, made me feel it looks like it's going into the right direction. And so, from weeks to weeks, even at the beginning, we're talking with the PR company, and we were supposed to launch in October or November of 2019. Decided to actually launch in February or March, but these 6 months were crucial because this 6 months meant that we moved from, I would say, a normal exhibition or a smaller scale exhibition to actually, let's go for the whole thing. We decided to take the 3 floors. We decided to bring paintings of Zaoki here with the cost that comes with it. And we thought, and the more the crisis was growing because protests continued to grow and when COVID came, all in.
It must have been a very, very difficult decision to process because being a Hong Kong person, I was born here and I have never experienced something like that in my whole entire life. So 2019 second half year was like something that's so unusual for almost every one of us. It's just really wonderful, like how you could build this confidence and just go at it and then become so successful.
And what you need to know as well is that it didn't come like, oh, I'm just going to have these ideas, I'm going to change the course, right? Because I restructured a lot of the company, so I had less people. My discipline to myself in the last year, I've changed completely my life. For the first time, I started to meditate in the morning. I started, I wake up at 6 most every day of the week, except the weekends. But I have been driven by this mission, by this idea that this is what I wanted to realize. And I thought to myself, you're going to give yourself 1,000%. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But you're going to do it completely because at the end, you'll have nothing to feel guilty for, and you're going to do it for yourself. The fact that I was doing it, all the team was seeing that, and was like, okay, we went from having 2 floors and spreading the team in 2 floors to putting all the team into 1 floor. No windows, and then we just packed them in together. But then that gave us like a huge drive. People were actually coming back to me and say, oh, actually, we realized that you're working more than we thought. we thought that you're, as the boss, like you're actually doing not much.
Sometimes it's a burden to look really good because people will have fixed belief on.
Well, maybe to think maybe, oh, he's traveling all the time, we don't see him that much, or why would we work for someone that, maybe is chilling somewhere. And when we went into the office, I had no more of before I had a closed office, I had, that was like that, my idea was success. I kind of changed that over the years. So now I'm sharing because this is what I love. I love the fact that we are in a compact office, we can laugh, share. And this is one of the most enjoyable, when I think about this moment, this journey. I mean, spending time with my team, creating the exhibitions and sharing more with them is definitely one of the
understand that, Arthur, but another thing that I want to ask is you're actually doubling down on not just using your family name as the name of the gallery, but you also, I see that Prime Minister Dominique Villepin's name and bio and everything is next to you in your website. He's of course in front of you, but he is a co-founder of this gallery. And what is the story behind this? Because a lot of us would want to know, because in Hong Kong and in Asia, a lot of us are born with running family businesses and having to work with parents. Like there must be like stories like, and need to understand the anecdotes and like what happened, like when your parents worried too.
Of course, I mean, and
you took his photo, or
you can imagine because I shared that all with him, right? I shared this moments of failure where I felt like this is bad. I mean, I lost a lot of money and then felt like, where is this going to lead, right? And so, and then next step, I'm saying, I have a great idea. What if we do this?
Why don't you open a gallery?
Why don't you open this gallery, and then we actually set up Villepin, and we do it together. And it was like, hey, come on, it's like, hey, let's think this over. And actually, It was amazing because at the time it took a big leap of faith. I remember that my sister was like, "Are you sure? Like, are you like actually sure?" Because
you can kind of use it once.
Even my cousins, I mean, you know, and back in, you know, our family back in France, the truth is, we know we're going to a family dinner, and my cousins would be like, you know, my father was in politics, you know, it's not just your name, it's the name of everyone that you are getting into this direction, that direction. And when I took this name here, it was not just my father or my sisters or my mom, it's also my cousins,
right? The whole clan, the cousins.
Of course, you have to make it look good. So I thought about that a lot. And because I know it means a lot for them, you know, it's like we have a big family. Our name's been there. My uncle created this book, which I loved. So I know that they cared a lot about that. So when I asked my father to join me in this, he said, we're going to find our roles. We're going to find a way we're going to do it at our place. Let's not be more or less than what we are, and let's really do it step by step. Of course, then I was a bit more bullish. So I was just like, let me, you know, feel how it's going to go. And also, I think I wanted to go all in, and I wanted this to happen with my father, because I thought I wanted this transmission to happen. I felt I want in this idea to create a family journey, a family project, where I know that I could say, I hope one day to my son or my daughter, you know, we started that with your grandfather, and then now it's you know, we can you know, pass it on to the generations. This is really something I hope it can happen. So I did it also for that, for the story and the transmission and the ability to create more than just a project, you know, a gallery.
That's wonderful to know. I guess really makes sense because including yourself, your parents, your father, they're like astute collectors, and that's how you met a lot of wonderful artists like Zhao Wiki and other artists. We know that you are very passionate about every single artist you present. I have been privileged to speak to you and got introduced to your art and the art you represent. And I feel that you're not just talking about painting, but you're really always sharing stories behind like the artist's growth, and they seem very convincing.
You know, it came afterwards, because when I realized that I was going through that route and that journey, I started to look back at my memories, and I realized I've rarely been into a gallery before coming into Hong Kong, and rarely been into an auction house. And most of the places I've been to were artist studio and moments spent with artists. And I thought that this was just the way, you know, that was just the way we interacted with art. And so afterwards I realized, okay, I was so lucky. I had a huge chance to actually discover art through the artist himself, and not any artist. So the moments that I would go to Zhaoqi's studio and then we would just hang around, and then he would start a paint, or the moment we found ourselves in the countryside and he was there for the first time painting his watercolors, and, you know, trying to make sure that we were not, you know, coming in and doing anything on the watercolors themselves, because what made me laugh for Zhaoqi is that at the lunch or the dinners, he was always the one. He was next to me, and he was very nice, and always very cheerful. So when you had to drink, he was always cheering with you. You would cheer with Zhao, and he was so nice, and there was amazing moments. So I would, after lunch, you know, that connection, I felt, oh, it's going to continue. And then when he would set himself to work and do these watercolors, I thought that he would really be having the same interactions, having the same vibes. And I realized he was so serious. He was so focused, right? And I could see that the determination that he had of wanting to paint what he was seeing. And for me, it was amazing, because at the time I didn't realize. I thought, this is not a serious thing, you know, artist, what it is, I don't understand. He was looking at the landscape with such a precision and details, and he was painting, and I was like, and I was looking at the landscape, I was looking at the garden, I was looking at his watercolor, and I thought, I don't recognize anything. You know, I can do it. And it took me 10 years to look back at this memory, see the watercolors again, and realize that I was not seeing the garden, but I was seeing myself next to him, painting and catching the vibe and the spirit of that moment. And that, it's like, he took the energy of that moment. He took the vibe of that moment. And I realized that this is what he was painting. He was painting the invisible part of life. The things that makes you feel, that makes you create memories, that is even more important than the precision of a landscape. And he was taking that, putting it on paper for life, for eternity. And this is why I understood what was painting and what was talent. Yeah, it keeps in my mind. I mean, the stories like that, whether it's when I went to see Barcelona when he was painting the UN ceiling in Geneva. Wow, he was with this big, outfit, exactly, and he was with this huge tank for trying to, put the paint all over the wall. Also with paintballs, making some marks because the ceiling was super big, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought, what a project! What is he doing? How can he even, know where goes what? And it felt like very abstract. And when I look back and then you see the ceiling.
Did you study art after that?
No, but I will tell you something. Every weekend, what I love to do, I go in my place in Lantau and I research. I love research. I read, I have books everywhere. I pick up a book, Ambroise Vollard, Daniel Henriquenweiler, Leo Castelli, and different artists, and I research. I take my AirPods when I go to run, and I listen to art podcasts. I don't feel that I'm working. For me, is the more I learn, and the more I feel that the world is opening itself. Not that I know more, but the knowledge gives me more possibilities and gives me more hunger to discover more.
I feel like you have developed a set of philosophy of art, and you mentioned before that art is about opening up horizon, and money is just fuel. Can you elaborate a bit on that and how you balance the money part and the art part?
Yeah, I think it's all set up when I was in this moment and was creating the definition, the kind of values of this gallery. I realized what is success. Success is this community, right? Success is this capacity to be around people that you can say are friends, and then you share amazing, a journey with them and trying to create some meaning for others. And then I thought, okay, what if the business model? Because I didn't like the idea that, okay, I'm going to sell something to collectors, and my interest is not aligned with them, because my interest is to sell the biggest price to them, I don't like that. My business interest. And I thought, how can I align my interest with them? And I realized that in my position as a collector, what if my interest was to promote the value of the artist and promote the artist itself, and make the artist more visible, then the value grows. Then my interest is not to just sell the paintings. It's not to sell the paintings. It's actually to share the paintings of an artist that I promote together with the collectors. And from there, develop a collection as well. So then I realized that I could actually align my interest with theirs. And I realized that the money was a fuel for success that allowed us to meet more artists, grow bigger the community, and have also different locations, maybe buy a house in Italy or in south of France, or like we did buy the house of Zaoki next to Paris, where we could make this community alive, bring more artists, create an artist residency, and have these collectors come and enjoy more art. So yeah, it really feels like, even for this exhibition, I mean, how can I show it more? I do this exhibition, everyone saw that I invested so much in the whole space, in the infrastructure of the space. Most people think it's a stupid thing, your business model. Why are you losing so much? Why are you investing so much money? But the truth is that I'm doing exactly that. This is my life. I mean, I'm never gonna have that year again, right? And I'm investing in an exhibition. One day I'll be like, I'm so proud of it. So the investment, the money that I've earned, is the fuel that I put back to create more and to actually enjoy my life, because I'm not going to enjoy the money once it's in my tomb. Yeah.
we can definitely feel Arthur's passion and all the hard work you've done. And today, your gallery is completely transformed into a world of Myonghi Kang's show.
Yeah, yeah.
Should we go and bring our audience to see the show?
Definitely, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. I was saying that it's much more than a representation of nature, because it could feel like it's her doing this experience that I've just explained, where she's in the water in the Chinese Sea, and she has her head above the water, and she's basically trying to figure out what she's looking at, whether she's looking at the clouds, whether she's looking at the sky, or the sun even shining on the water. And so this is the reason why we see those sparkles. The thing is, eventually you have all the elements here. You have the sun, you have the sky, but you also have the bottom of the sea. And obviously, when she told me I wanted to put the weight down, I understood afterwards that the weight was her body pulling her down, but eventually the eyes, where you fix your eyes, whoever visitors actually have the choice of looking down or looking up. So I realized that what was personal journey for her became a personal journey for me, and could be a universal journey for others. And this is what I wanted to share.
Amazing.
She also told me, and I think that joins what we are just saying. She said, oh, this painting is about a circle and a square. The circle in ancient China basically means that the circle is heaven and the square is earth. Yes. And here you find out again where those two elements combine. But eventually I realized, oh, it's very linked to Ophelia and to this idea that we all have at some point this experience of having our head above the water. But at the end, the last thing that really, I would say, struck me is that, I looked in the middle of the painting here, so, and then there's the signature.
That's right.
So, I explained it, it took her 4 years. 4 years to create the paintings. And I guess over those 4 years, there were some ups and downs. There were good moments, bad moments, difficult moments, and moments of joy. And at the end, I don't know why, because
what did she write French?
She wrote 70 ans.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does it mean, 70 ans? It means 70 years old, right?
Yes.
And she told me I had the courage. to put 70 ans because it was my birthday. So basically, when I asked her, and she told me that she celebrated her birthday for 70 ans, then I understood, looking back at all the explanations, I understood that from the different waves of life, the different moments where you look down, you look up, at the end, she decided to sign and celebrate her birthday, celebrate life. And so I thought, this is much more than a painting.
And this must be like a piece of masterwork.
Yeah,
she's proud of.
Feels like a masterwork. Feels like the ability to surmount, to go over all the issues and finally put a point and say, I celebrate life, even though I went through all the cycles, all the waves. I go out of the water and I'm still alive. And I think that's a wonderful lesson, not just of how to look at nature, but much more about life.
And the use of color yellow seems to be quite positive, right? Like after looking at
she told me
as a whole.
Yeah, she told me it's actually exactly the colors that she saw when looking at the Chinese Sea. Just interesting because it's made for 40 years. She let time decide how would this painting evolve. She also planted seeds in her garden, watched them grow, and eventually then painted them. And then, she's always about this vulnerability to nature. She doesn't want to impose herself to nature. She really wants to sit there and find the right moment where she feels she fusions with nature. And this is why she paints in the middle of the painting. People ask me, but why not at the end? Because she doesn't feel like a spectator. She's not painting nature. She is part of it. She fusions with it. And when you ask her who's painting, she even tells you at some point, oh, I didn't feel it was me painting. I actually felt that it was the wind. It was the wind pushing my brush and painting together with me. So the whole idea here was really to be vulnerable to time and let time decide when will this
It seems like her practice or work is quite personal. It's almost like a personal story and personal cycle in terms of how
it is, I think, very personal to her life, because she went through Korean War when she was very young, and at that time I think the impact of the war was everywhere, but she always made choices that she wanted to choose life, she wanted to choose nature as a way to heal.
In a way.
Yeah.
Maybe it was very hard for her. She didn't want to do something that wasn't to her liking, and rather not paint, and then she waited until she felt like you said, the plants grew, and the life pushes her to continue.
Exactly, and it's funny because people feel that sometimes these paintings are happy, but they are everything but
they
just
are much
happy.
more, yes.
They are represent all the cycles. She was telling me in the car, because I was asking her, oh, what about this healing, this calm? She said, yes, but honestly, I'm telling you, sometimes I'm in the studio and I feel like I'm dying. I feel like I'm dying. I feel like how I'm going to survive this whole thing. I'm suffering, she says. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I feel so empty, and then it comes back again. So everything is there. This struggle, the combat somehow is there in her paintings. What if the ground floor would be the anchoring, right? The rooting, and you saw, for example, this Japanese trunk tree. It's 100 years old, because it's not just, oh, let's bring an old tree. It was like, why this trunk tree here? And we brought the Japanese trunk tree because this one is rooted, right? You can feel that it feels rooted into the floor, and that's kind of like this element where you root yourself into this environment. And when you come here,
I hear the bird chirping.
Exactly. We changed also that. We recorded that in Jeju because we wanted this place to be immersed in nature, like fusion with nature. And we thought we are like in the infant, almost like in the creation of life. Yeah. And so we found this tree, which is not rooted, but it's actually growing. And you look at the tree trunk here, is really growing up, and this whole idea of growth. So here we are growing. First room we are rooting, and the last room will be the elevation. And this has been thought through like that. And so this is why we put it the birds. This is why we put it these paintings that are more dense. This is the fusion, the fire of life that it enables you to accept and grow. I thought I wanted to do an itinerary, a journey that was truthful to the environment and the space, at the same time to the paintings. And I didn't want to copy something that I knew, because the most important aspect in this environment was truth, was authenticity, simplicity, intimacy, but the ability to not, it's like some point, oh, we could have added something, oh, it doesn't work, oh, let's just try to, fix it a little bit, bring this or bring that to make it more beautiful. We remove this. Okay, we try to put a carpet there, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We have to let the place raw and just, right? And so when we thought, okay, let's put a garden here, it could not be a garden that you need to water every 2 days. So we found these plants that are air plants. These plants, they feed themselves out of the water. And we thought, what an incredible way to kind of match. Not too heavy, here to complement, to sublime the art, but not to overpower it. So my concern was really how to sublime the art around, and how to create an environment that would bring the best into Myonghi's art. And not, I didn't want to be like the kind of guy to say, oh, have you seen the space? I'm a genius. It's not about me. It's about trying to bridge the gap between her world, Myonghi's world, and our world. And I know, when you think about it, we opened Art Basel. Everyone has been so excited, like they've been into their mind. Art was everywhere. You go into the street, you hear the heat, the speed. So my thought was, how can this world can understand Myonghi, that go into nature, wait 3 weeks before touching a canvas, and has a world that is completely different. How these two worlds can meet. So my idea is that I understood that my job was to create a bridge. I create a bridge so in 1 hour, people can come here and understand or feel Myonghi, while it took me 10 years to do. And think that eventually this is what I try to do.
Very successful. Thanks I can totally feel your passion in every single detail and showing the work to us.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really important to try to follow your instinct, and I reveal myself. I can see myself again, like there was all this bamboo stuff because we changed all this area here.
That's right.
And I was looking at it from top, and I was like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We changed all the paintings from top to hand, and then it was like, how I'm gonna find the perfect, the perfect balance, and how I'm gonna find the just composition. And when I started to put we started to put these two paintings together, and then this, and I was like, oh, suddenly it makes sense. And that was You don't know why. You just feel it. It makes sense. There's a story that builds itself.
When the collector collect a piece, would you actually personally go to their home to make sure the work gets installed in a nice and appropriate
Yesterday
way?
I went
That's
to
what
deliver.
I do as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You do that
yeah,
too.
Of course.
I can imagine, because I don't think you would just receive a check and give them the painting. It seems like you're really passionate about like every single work that you're showing here.
I realize that for me, what I appreciate, what I love in the job is as much the relationship with the artist, the understanding of the paintings, the curation, but also, and very much actually, the relationship with the collectors. For me, because we are collectors as well in the family, collectors are very important. I think there is this idea that collectors, I thought, they had no responsibility rather than just the one of buying an artwork, and I'm really not for that. For me, collectors have a responsibility. I'm here I really want to help collectors to take on that responsibility of saying, you have a curatorial responsibility over the artworks that you buy. This is a vision. This is a mirroring whatever you think of life, and I think that it is really important to have a journey for them to slowly understand that and build that so that the others can enjoy it as well. So when I select an art piece and then I find it for collectors, my biggest joy is, of course, to know how it's going to fit into a more coherent or longer vision as well. And that's the journey that I love. Yeah.
So what is your take on building collectors? Like we did talk about providing a great home for the pieces, but at the same time, you've been here for over 10 years. I think collectors in Asia are very different from those in France and Europe. Like, how do you kind of build your own community and expand it to like to I guess collecting a lot of the works that you're passionate about?
I think it all started because I basically at some point I started. My chances that I started this whole project 10 years after being in Hong Kong, after having started, also 10 years after having starting some other entrepreneurial journeys. So having a bit of maturity, let's say, into what I wanted to do and what was important to me, and also having lived a couple of failures as well. And I think that failures at some point they reveal, right? They reveal ultimately who you are, what you want to do, what's important to you. So when I started this whole idea of creating a gallery, I thought, what is success to me? What in 20 years I'll be proud to say I have achieved or accomplished as a gallerist? And I realized it was not a business revenue. It was not how many galleries, because I looked around. The biggest galleries now that you praise, of course, the mega galleries, have galleries everywhere around the world, whether it's the US, whether
Even
it's Asia.
Ritz.
Exactly, right? And so I thought, maybe this is what you want for yourself. Maybe this is success for you. Yeah. And I realized it's not. For me, I don't want to create a mega gallery. And I realized that the key for me was to spend time with collectors that I cherish, that ultimately become friends, and that I appreciate and grow with the collectors. And also, I grow thanks to collectors, because the collectors, they have their own life, they have their own vision of life, and they have so much to teach you as well. So I understand that when a collector comes in, it's not just you saying, oh, this is art, and this is what you should learn, and this is what I'm going to teach you or whatever. It's like a dance. It's understanding what they love, what they like, and eventually making you discover through your own learnings and making you grow. And I love this. I love this as much as I love working with artists, because of course it's a big work of humility. All the time you're always put back to the position of not understanding, and you realize that the more you understand, and the more you become ignorant somehow, because you're so humble towards the idea that there's so much to learn. And so I think at the end of the day, art is a world of possibilities. Possibilities with the collectors, of knowing more, and possibilities with the artists. And this is what I'm trying to create, a community of amazing artists with whom I can grow, and collectors as well, that we can share a common journey together.
Do you think that your collectors come here and they collect because they can see your passion and they listen to your recommendation, or is it really more the fame or the name of the reputation of the artists themselves?
Well, I think it's a combination for sure. Some people come from the fame, some people come from the name, some people come because they fall in love with Myonghi. They really don't care about us and Villepin. I think that there's a combination of all different kinds of actors working into knowing what they want to get into this adventure. I think I'm trying to bring out some values, some ideas that are, I think, important. I try to bring some, for example, you know, when I do this exhibition, it's 6 months exhibition, is a curation that I invest way more. I kind of set the way they will experience the artist, and I think this is a way I love art, and this is the way also I want to share art. And it's true that I kind of create a funnel into which they can experience it, because yes, it's 6 months. From there, we invest a lot in our curation. We invest a lot into creating a different setting, and we think it's like a virtuous circle. Because you have 6 months, you have way more time to change the whole space and have fun in the process. And also make it personal, right? Because the idea of making it more like a home is that I thought, you know, why wake up in the morning and think I'm going to the office? What if I actually go in another home and have some fun and share good moments with other people? And I think that virtuous circle from one led to the other. And afterwards I thought, oh, I don't want to share that on one event and I invite 100 people, and eventually I'm frustrated because I cannot talk to all my friends and to all the people I can share it with. So I thought, let's do no event, just by appointment only, guided tours, whether you're a visitor or collector, and everyone can enjoy this the exhibition, on the introduction of the exhibition with the smaller groups. And from there, let's then go in depth and let's re-invite people for a specific salon, and let's make art alive. And I think that then it always led me to more. Like, for instance, I thought, okay, now I've done this space, invested so much into it, and thought, I think the message is so important, the meaning is so important that I wanted to share. I thought, let's bring memory. So I wanted to do more videos, interaction, and I thought, let's make it a book, let's make some content. Let's invest into someone that's going to write about the show, write about the meaning, and then share it with others. So one led to the other, and then I think that this is what constitutes now the DNA, if you want, of
That's great. And we realized that you have spent almost a decade in China and Hong Kong. You're a serial entrepreneur. You started different businesses, and when you decided to start a gallery, you chose Hong Kong, which is part of China. And we all kind of feel like Chinese collectors are growing in numbers and knowledge, and it's almost like they're generating a powerhouse of collection. What is your take in this? Like how many or not how many, but how do you think the characteristic of Chinese collectors, and how do you see the future of Chinese collection of international or just generally art?
Honestly, I'm very, very excited. From where I stand, I have never been living a moment of such excitement in terms of the potential that I feel, the possibilities of growth, and the demand for more collections, for more culture. From a collector's point of view, from how Hong Kong has been changing over the years. I mean, I arrived in Hong Kong, it was market all around. It was all about business and art. And now, how many galleries is there around Hong Kong? So many different galleries, so many different areas. I mean, from Wong Chuk Han to Central to Mid-Level to Shenzhen, to all these different places, now Tai Kwun. And then you have also culture, right? Culture coming from institutions. I mean, you never had that before. I mean, after Art Basel, Art Central, Affordable Art Fair, you have museums, right? I mean, the new museum of Hong Kong Museum of Art, you have the whole West Kowloon, you have Tai Kwun Museum, and these were before maybe considered as like normal museum, now world-class museum. So it's the whole ecosystem that is changing. That, I feel it like a 1000%. So when both your environment, institutions, and I would say collectors individually with all the actors of the world of art is pushing into that direction. I mean, for me, Hong Kong feels like we are like New York in the 20s, or we're going to live on one of the best moments of our history in terms of creation for art, a platform to share more art, and of course to create a lot of different collections.
I can totally feel that you're very positive. Last time we spoke in preparation of this interview, you did talk a lot about how you felt that Hong Kong is the art hub, and that a lot of people are missing the point. Is there anything that you want to share with us that can perhaps encourage more people to feel confident and to grow with us in art here?
Well, I mean, for me it's funny because you asked me why I at some point set up the gallery in Hong Kong and why I choose Hong Kong, right? What now is a feeling, and is much more than a feeling because obviously it's everywhere around us. Last year, Hong Kong was the only place where you had COVID and the protests, right? And then no place in Europe had the COVID yet. Back in January, February.
Yes.
At that time, everyone was like, Hong Kong is down.
Yeah.
You know?
There was so much bad press, and those people writing about not even here.
I mean, so many of my friends was like, Mayday, Mayday, let's go out, you know? And I was like, for me, that was the moment I was launching the most important projects of my life. You know?
That's right.
And I was there and thinking, okay, this is a huge show. This is Zaoki. Of course, you can imagine the amount of
it was a beautiful show.
Yeah,
well
I mean,
done. Yeah.
It was the best way to open and to come up in that moment, because it was huge investment in terms of logistics and of course the creation of the show when you thought maybe no one's going to come and see it, because of course you can imagine the cost of bringing a Zaoki show into Hong Kong. It's huge.
Yeah.
And I thought, not only we're going to bring it, but we're going to go full steam, because this is why art. It gave us a reason. Again, this crisis revealed why we were doing this. We were doing this not just because we want to sell an exhibition, because it meant something, because it was more important than just open a gallery. What was important is to make art alive, to feel like in a moment where no one believes in life, where everyone is lost, where you feel that everyone wants to go away or feel what's going to happen to us, you bring art, and then you bring perspective, you bring a way to look at life differently, and people start to have hope, start to believe again, or at least want to enjoy life maybe a bit more. We brought the theme friendship and reconciliation, and I thought, okay, this is it. I know why I'm doing this, and it gave me the confidence to continue and develop even more afterwards.
How was the impact? How did you find people's reaction to it? We were all kind of taking a breath from the social unrest and then not understanding COVID yet, but then I guess a lot of people came to see the show and we're at it, just the effort. And again, similar to this, you put a lot of thought into it and a lot of preparation. Were you happy with the result?
I was very touched, and I think I knew I knew that this was this was the moment that I found what I wanted to do. I felt useful somehow. I think I think of course. I mean useful because creating a company and then doing some money, or having the idea of success before, then entrepreneur is like selling your company, doing an IPO, or having a lot of people working with you. All this, I understood that all this meant nothing for me. And then what meant something was to create a company with a meaning, create a gallery that could bring something to people. And when they come out of the show, people I didn't know were like, thank you, because it touched us. It was emotional for people. And that was like, my mission is accomplished. Even if I touched a few, my mission was accomplished, because we were bringing value into a place, especially Hong Kong, that gave me so much. And I could not be more grateful for what Hong Kong gave me, because I grew up in Hong Kong. I became, myself. So the idea of giving back and the idea of bringing a show that was more than just putting paintings on the walls, that was important. And it was a revelation somehow. Yeah.
Arthur, before we go, is there one thing that you want to share with us before we let you go?
Well, the truth is, I really feel that this whole year and since the opening of this gallery, it's been, well, I've been in Hong Kong most of the time.
Yes.
And the world has been completely different. And it's true that in these very, very difficult times for most people, I have had the chance to live a journey that was very special for me. And I really hope I'll be able to share that journey with much more. I think that one thing that I understood through this COVID was the need for more connection, more bridges, and more sharing. And I've been sharing a lot and creating amazing relationships here in Hong Kong. And I just can't wait to share more. I mean, whether it's, of course, Chinese, my Chinese friends and the different collectors, but of course, people in Europe and the rest of the world, and especially my family. I think that I'm really craving for these connections that we cherish so much and makes the whole project and journey different. So yeah, really looking forward to that.
Definitely, and I also personally look forward to our growing friendship and to get to know you more and see how Villepin Gallery grows successfully. Thank you so much today.
Thank you for your time.
And thank you all of you for joining us. If you want to review the show again and recommend it to a friend, please like us, subscribe to our channels in our